The Anderson family mansion looked exactly the same as it had 15 years ago, right down to the pretentious lion statues guarding the front steps. The only difference was that now I wasn't the nervous young wife being summoned to the family meeting. I was the CEO they desperately needed to save them. "Catherine, thank you for coming," Richard Anderson, my former father-in-law, said stiffly as I entered his study. The room still smelled of expensive cigars and old money. "My name is Catherine Chen, though 15 years ago I was Catherine Anderson, wife of their precious heir Thomas, until I got pregnant and refused to take care of it quietly as they'd suggested. The scandal of their son marrying a middle-class Asian woman had been bad enough. A baby would make it impossible to arrange the merger they'd planned through Thomas's marriage to a rival company's daughter." "Hello, Richard," I said calmly, setting my briefcase on his mahogany desk. "Margaret." I nodded to my former mother-in-law, who sat rigidly in her usual armchair, her face pinched with barely concealed distaste. "You're looking, well," Margaret managed, though I could see how much it cost her to be civil. I smoothed my Channel suit, worth more than the entire contents of her prized china cabinet, and smiled. Amazing what happens when you build your own fortune instead of living off someone else's. Thomas shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He'd gotten fat in the years since I'd left, his once handsome face puffy from too much drinking. His new wife, the one they'd chosen for him after driving me away, sat beside him looking thoroughly miserable. "Let's get to the point," Richard said, clearing his throat. "Anderson Industries is facing some difficulties." "Bankruptcy," I corrected him. "You're 3 months away from complete collapse. Your stock has dropped 60% in the last quarter. Your major contracts are being canceled. And that merger you arranged for Thomas?" I glanced at his wife. "Well, we both know how well that turned out." "How do you know all this?" Thomas demanded. I pulled out my tablet, bringing up a series of graphs and charts. "Because I've been watching your decline for 15 years. Ever since you threw me out of this house with nothing but the clothes on my back and a baby on the way." Margaret's hand flew to her throat, a gesture I remembered well from my days as their disappointing daughter-in-law. "You've been monitoring us." "Of course," I said simply, just like I monitored the tech startup you dismissed as beneath the Anderson name when I suggested investing in it. The same company I bought shares in 15 years ago. Shares that are now worth billions." The silence in the room was deafening. "So," I continued, opening my briefcase, "shall we discuss how I'm going to save your family legacy? Or would you rather keep pretending you don't need help from the gold-digging commoner you threw away?" "Before we continue," I said, pulling out a stack of documents, "there's someone else who should be part of this discussion." On cue, the study door opened. A young man walked in, tall and striking with his father's strong jaw, but my Asian features. Thomas went pale. "Mom," he said, coming to stand beside me. "Are you sure about this?" Margaret's teacup clattered against its saucer. "Is that Alexander Chen?" I introduced him proudly. "My son, your grandson. Though I suppose you wouldn't know that since none of you bothered to find out what happened to him after you threw us out." Thomas stood up shakily. "Alexander." "I? Save it?" Alex cut him off coldly. "I'm not here as your son. I'm here as the CFO of Chen Technologies." The revelation hit them like a physical blow. Alex, at just 23, was already the financial head of my multi-billion-dollar tech company, the same company that now held enough Anderson Industries stock to determine their fate. "Impossible," Richard whispered. "The majority shareholder in Chen Technologies is listed as AC Holdings. My son's initials," I confirmed with a smile. "He's quite brilliant with numbers. Must have inherited that from my side of the family." I spread the documents across Richard's desk. "Here's what's going to happen. Chen Technologies will buy Anderson Industries, will absorb your assets, restructure your debt, and save the jobs of your employees, the ones who don't deserve to suffer for your mismanagement." "You can't just take our company," Thomas protested weakly. "Actually, we can," Alex replied, his voice cool and professional. "You're 3 weeks away from defaulting on your major loans. When that happens, your stock will be worthless. Our offer is the only thing standing between you and complete ruin." Margaret turned to Thomas's wife. "Patricia, surely your father's company is no longer interested in a merger," Patricia said quietly. "Not after Thomas's gambling debts came to light." I watched their faces as reality sank in. The mighty Andersons, undone by their own arrogance and poor choices. The papers are ready to sign, I said, pushing them across the desk. Unless you prefer bankruptcy, I'm sure the society pages would love that story. Richard picked up his pen with a trembling hand. You planned this, all of it. No, I corrected him, you planned it. The moment you decided your family's reputation was worth more than your grandson's life. I just made sure you'd live to regret that decision. The signing of papers took less than 30 minutes. Just half an hour to transfer control of a company that had been in the Anderson family for 4 generations. As Richard's trembling hand inked the final signature, I thought about the day they'd throw me out. You'll never amount to anything without us. Margaret had sneered as security escorted me from the property. You're nothing. Now 15 years later, I sat in Richard's study watching them process their new reality. There's one more thing, I said, pulling out another document. This is my first act as CEO of the merged companies. Thomas grabbed it, his face going from red to white as he read. You're changing the company name. You can't erase 100 years of history. Watch me, I replied calmly. As of tomorrow, Anderson Industries will cease to exist. Everything will be rebranded under Chen Technologies. You vindictive, Margaret started, but Alex cut her off. Careful, Mrs. Anderson. That's my mother and your new boss you're talking to. I stood up, smoothing my skirt. Now about your living arrangements, you can stay in the mansion. As paying tenants, the property belongs to the company after all. Tenants? Margaret looked faint. In our own home. Consider it generous, most of your assets will need to be liquidated to cover the company's debts. I turned to Thomas. Including your vacation homes, cars, and that yacht you bought instead of paying child support. Patricia let out a small sob and fled the room. Thomas just stared at the floor, defeated. Why are you doing this? Richard asked quietly. You've won. You've taken everything. Why humiliate us further? I walked to the window, looking out at the perfectly manicured gardens where I'd once walked as a young bride, full of hope and love. 15 years ago, you had a choice, I said finally. You could have welcomed your grandson, supported your son's marriage, been actual human beings. Instead, you chose pride and prejudice. I turned back to face them. Now I want you to live with that choice. Every day, when you write rent checks to Chen Technologies, when you see our name on the company buildings, when you read about our success in the papers, I want you to remember what you threw away. Alex stepped forward. The board meeting is tomorrow at 9. Try not to be late. The new CEO doesn't tolerate tardiness. As we walked out of the study, I heard Margaret burst into tears. The sound didn't bring me the satisfaction I'd expected. Instead, I felt oddly empty. Are you okay, Mom? Alex asked as we got into our car. I looked at my son, brilliant, kind, successful despite everything they'd done. I thought this moment would feel different, more triumphant. He squeezed my hand. Maybe because you didn't do this for revenge. Not really. Oh. You did it to prove them wrong. About you, about me, about what family really means. He smiled. And we did that long before today. That evening, I sat in my home office reviewing the merger documents. My phone kept buzzing with messages, reporters wanting comments on the takeover, society friends eager for gossip, even a tearful voicemail from Patricia asking for help with her own escape plan. I answered none of them. Instead, I opened my desk drawer and pulled out an old photo. The last ultrasound picture of Alex before the Andersons threw me out. I kept it all these years, a reminder of what I was fighting for. Ms. Chen, my assistant's voice came through the intercom. Tomorrow's schedule is confirmed. The Anderson board meets at 9, followed by the press conference announcing the merger and rebranding. Thank you, Sarah. And the other arrangement? The moving company will begin clearing out the Anderson mansion next week. The Historical Society is very excited about your donation of the property for their new community center. I smiled, picturing Margaret's face when she learned her precious mansion would become a public space. Some might call it petty. I called it poetic justice. My phone buzzed again. A text from Alex. Dinner tonight? That little noodle place where you used to take me after school. I texted back, perfect. Just us. Just family, he replied. And really, that's what this had all been about. Not revenge, not even justice. It was about showing them what real family looks like, the kind that builds each other up instead of tearing each other down. Tomorrow, I would step into Richard's old office as CEO. The Anderson name would be erased from the building, replaced by Chen. But my greatest victory wasn't in destroying their legacy. It was in building my own.